think the main job for the special task force is to help people to report. Many of the Cosmo Boys are hikers and runners, so they are in the country park many hours of the week. And if everybody, when they see, if many times that people see any problems in the country park, make a report, a quick photograph, location, date is all what is needed to report any problems that they see, so the government can take action and have no excuse for not taking any action. You know, as we saw one report today, one person who saw the barge and saw the equipment arriving at the beach, but he didn't think that it was a problem, so he didn't report it. But I think from now on, this group is ideal to make sure that people start reporting properly.
So what would we do in the next few months?
Well, I think what we're going to see is that the Cosmo Boys are going to be very organized. I'm not a Cosmo Boy, I was a guest today, but that the Cosmo Boys are going to be very organized in being a watchdog and make sure that people report anytime they see the problems. And that's the first step. The government needs reports from people that there are problems, and then they cannot say that they didn't know. They have to take action. So this is a very important thing that's going to happen.
But do you think Ms. Carrie Lam of the development department is to blame in the saga?
Well, I mean, the blame is definitely with government for not taking action when they were informed by people that knew about it. The green groups already in 2001 and 2004 highlighted the problems with the lack of zoning on these areas, and they have always refused to take action because it was complicated and they didn't think it was a priority because the land was not accessible, so they never thought it was going to be important and until this accident happened, and now they are taking action. So I'm not sure Ms. Carrie Lam is responsible, but I think that government as a system have failed to recognize the need for solving this problem early. But now, at least now they recognize, so it's good. Now we can move forward. Let's just be positive and try to fix the problem and move forward.
One separate question. We realized that the Civic Party has already expressed it is willing to run for the Southern District Council by-election, and we realized that you are going to run for the Popular constituency by-election. Are you confident about your chance? What do you think of your chance of getting the seat?
Well, I know that the Civic Party is going to run with a candidate, and I know that the Civic Party will make a decision this weekend, and that there is going to be an announcement next week about who's going to run. So any suggestions today is a little bit premature. You know, I think next week we'll have more clarity who's going to run, and then we can talk about these issues.
So you haven't decided whether to run or not?
And I think the party is making its decision, and then next week on Tuesday I think there will be an announcement.
So what do you think the action that government should take now?
Well, first of all, we have to put zoning on the areas where there is no development planning and development control. That's the first action that we have to take. The second action is then to decide what is the right thing for those pieces of land. Some land you may allow some development, others you may allow zero development, and then you have to resume it. You cannot leave the owners of that land then without any money. You have to take the land back from them, give them some money, make sure that it becomes part of the public. And but I think that on the issues that have not been addressed in Hong Kong is the issues of the village rights. We see really an abuse of the system now, with very rapid development in To Kwa Pang. It is Tat Mun village rights that are used to develop the land there. They don't even live there. It's not even a local right. It's a developer who buy the village right somewhere else. He buy the land here, combine it, and he can actually develop it. I mean, we see this kind of things happening. It's a clear abuse of the system. It has not been talked about it yet, and it's a very sensitive one because the Hung Ye Kuk is very powerful, but the government has to address it. They cannot accept that this is what is happening. And then the other problem is that if you allow any development, it should not be based on a paddy field layout. We should do proper development. If you allow any development in those sensitive areas, then you have to do it in a nice way. Not in a like, oh, this was your piece of land as a paddy field, so you can put a building here, and then you had a paddy field there, you can put a building there. That doesn't make any sense. We have to properly organize the land, like we do in any other country. But in the new territories, we used to do it, and then we stopped because it became difficult. Well, difficult is not an excuse. So those are the things we definitely need to resolve.
But the issue of private housing is extremely sensitive to villages in the new territories. What sort of measures will be done in order to play down the issue of?
Well, I mean, the longer we wait, the more expensive it is. If you build more roads, then the value of the land will go up higher. So it's always too late to start. So you have to start right away. Don't wait longer with starting it. If there are proper rights that are well recognized, then you'll have to compensate. That can be in many different ways. It doesn't have to be cash. There could be a transfer of development rights. So you give people development rights elsewhere in the new territories, or like we did it in the old days, we give letters A and B. Basically, we did an exchange, and that became ultimately Trung Quan O. Basically, that was all village development rights that were converted into the development rights in Trung Quan O. So people got value for their land, and they were compensated, but not with cash. So there are systems to do it, but we'll have to, first of all, make the plan what we want to do with the land. If some land we actually are happy that there is development, okay, allow it, and give the guy access. But do it in a good way. If there's land where we don't want development, then resume the land. Offer him transfer rights, whatever. Solve the problem. Don't hide it. Right now, what we have done for many years, we just left the problem rot. We didn't address it. We just walked around it. And there is no more, we shouldn't do that. We have to resolve it.
But some say that will contravene the rights of the indigenous of the new territories, villages, which is already guaranteed by basic law. Do you think?
Well, I think the indigenous villages, if you go out to Sai Kung today, there is a big advertising banner asking people to sell their right to make an application for a land grant. Clearly, it was never the purpose of the village house systems. The village house system was for your son, and you had to live in it for 5 years before you could sell the house. But now we see an active trading in the right to make an application. So clearly we're already abusing the system. So I think the villages should be a bit careful with what they say. They're abusing the system, and I think the government have to stand up to the abuse. And under the basic law, you're not allowed to break the law. You have some rights and obligations, and the villages should look at both sides and not only at one side of the game. And the government has to be strong and stand up and solve it. They cannot just leave it rot. You know, it's a problem we have, and they have to solve it. They can't just let it sit. And they promised to do it. Michael soon promised to do it. He didn't. So Donald Tsang has to do it, but we know that he's almost finished, so maybe he's not going to do it. But it needs to be resolved. You cannot let it rot.
Thanks very much.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.